Hi, everyone. This is Sonja Robinson hosting the S.U.N Talk Radio Show, Sustainable Urban Network, Saturdays at 3 p.m. on GODRadio1.com for us to scale up our neighborhoods.
Tune in to S.U.N Sustainable Urban Network Talk Radio Show on GODRadio1.com. Get up, get out, and get green. We can't let Earth pass us by. We got to scale up our neighborhood, y'all.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another day in S.U.N, Sustainable Urban Network. Happy S.U.N Saturday. You could be anywhere, and we appreciate you tuning in today. Today is a very special show. It is the Producer's Choice Show, given by our creative program manager, as well as myself. We will be talking about the history of farm life here in this country, nearly 100 years. And I am honored to have my family represented on this show to talk about how they lived as environmentalists, as we call it today. They call it just a way of life back then. So as we normally do, we're going to start the show off with our quote. We will also share a couple highlights, and then we're going to dive deep into this topic because there's so much history to cover, and we cannot cover all of this history in just one show, but we're going to try our best to cover as much as we can. So for today's quote that really sets the tone of today's show is, families are like branches on a tree. We grow in different directions, yet our roots remain as one. And that author is unknown. As well as there's another quote, and it reads as such, every family has a story to tell. Welcome to ours. And that definitely is very appropriate for the discussions we're going to have. So as we do on all of our shows, today is going to be a little different. And I think this is one surprise that our guests are unfamiliar with. But today is also my grandmother's birthday. So we want to give a quick happy birthday. Woo, woo. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Today's my grandmother's birthday. Yay! So that's a S.U.N shout out. Now, next, as we normally do on all our shows, is our S.U.N enlightenments. And our S.U.N enlightenments are inspired by one of our modern thought teachers, Don Miguel Ruiz, 4 agreements. And our S.U.N enlightenments are as such. 1, be responsible for your resources. 2, take the state of our environment and our social and racial justice seriously. 3, don't wait for others. Do your part. And 4, when you do it in your best effort and from your loving heart. So now what we're going to do is just give a quick update on what's the latest, some of the latest topics, as well as some of those announcements. One of the announcements, we just gave out that shout out. The next, as I mentioned, is what's going on, is get out the vote. We got 10 days, everyone. 10 days to get out the vote. So make sure you're voting. Everyone sitting on this panel are voters, and they have been for many, many decades. And it's also because a lot of the work they did that we are able to vote. So make sure you go out and get the vote and get your voice counted. Next is today, or this weekend, is actually the NAACP California and Hawaii State Conference. So they have activities that's also happening virtually. So that's something else that's happening. Now, as a reminder, the ITB, the invitation for bid to the City of San Diego's franchise agreement, it came in yesterday. So just know that there's going to be a lot of action, and we want to make sure that the justice is going to serve our people as far as that franchise agreement. And another announcement is we have a wellness virtual fun 5K walk. You can walk, run, or roll. And that is happening starting November 26th through December 1st. And you can do this anytime or anywhere. And so the next announcement, as I already said, I was too eager in celebrating my grandmother on her birthday. But I have to also give out the shout out to my son, Elijah. His birthday is coming up in a couple of days. So their birthday is only a few days apart. So I want to give a shout out to him for his birthday as well. Now, the Sunshine Award, before they even open their mouth, it has to go to the Stevens siblings. So our family definitely gets a Sunshine Award. So my aunt laughs for doing the work and pursuing what we call environmental and climate justice, as well as all the other, the social justice in the world. And so their lifestyle in itself is a pattern that we can learn so much from. So we have this terrific panel. We're going to give into this topic. It's a historical view of the family's life on a farm here in the United States. And so before we start this topic off, as we do on all of our shows, we're going to go ahead and do our theme song. So our topic theme song, and then I'll introduce our panel and talk about our life as, a farm owner here in the United States. Come on, dude. All right, yes. So this is my family. And it's also and so on our panel, I have my dear beloved grandmother. And yes, I did get my COVID shot, just so you guys are test, and I'm negative. So just so y'all know, I am protecting my grandmother. So I want to make sure that's it. Also on the panel, we have Uncle Carl and my cousin Ravi. Hi, Uncle Carl. Wave to the people. There you go. And so also on the show, we have my Aunt Vivian and cousin Don. Hey, Auntie.
Hey.
There you go. And we also have my Aunt Doris and my cousin Linda.
Hi.
Hi. And we have my Aunt Vinita. Hi, Auntie.
Hello.
And so just to give a little background of who they are, and as well as before we get into the topics we're going to cover. So my grandmother Verna, she worked as a nurse's aide for over like 20 years. She worked in a nursery and delivery room, as well as ER, which of course our family members who don't even know that know how nurturing and how trusting to the babies and our children that she is. And she also is a church trustee, choir, and she retired in retail. My Aunt Vivian, she retired as a healthcare worker, as a surgical technologist. My Aunt Doris also worked several decades within our government at Carswell Air Force Base. My Uncle Carl was drafted in the Navy, actually, as he attended Langston University, majoring in agriculture. He's also has been a hardware store owner for many decades as well. He worked for Sunstrange Aviation, and he's a member of the Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, a machinist mate in second class with the Navy, as well as a manufacturing engineer that he's retired from. And he also still mows lawn at 90 years old. He always cut my lawn. At least my first season, he would be out there in a huge backyard cutting my yard. So that's my Uncle Carl. Aunt Vinita, she has also been a business owner. She is a seamstress and designer, and she owned her own designer shop for over a decade. And my cousin Don, she's a psychologist. My cousin Linda, she's an educator, music teacher, and Ravi, engineer for the fire department, firefighter, and also a member of Phi Beta Sigma. Welcome, family. So one of the things I found really interesting is that I definitely have the bug for environmental and climate justice, but knowing that you guys grew up what today we're calling environmentalists, but it was just a way of life. So one of the things I want to hear is what are some of, would you say that some of the basic principles that came with agriculture and farming?
Oh, well, we was, you might say, dryland farmers, meaning we didn't have much rain in Oklahoma at the place where we live. So the crops had it always be a little deeper so they would have enough moisture, to produce. And which all of us also had short duty. E- Everybody would had to do a certain things. Uh, I took care of the hogs and the cows, and as a young man, and when I started at school, I majored in agriculture, and I also became the assistant to the two professors of agriculture. They
Wow.
would bring that class down to the farm and turn them over to me. And I was also just a freshman at Langston. I was made at Phi Beta Sigma in 1950, and I've been pretty active with the Sigma brothers ever since. And also now was the first charter member of Delta Delta Sigma, and the only charter member left. So I guess they don't want me to go yet.
Thank you, Uncle Carl. So, Linda, could you also, I mean, not Linda, and Doris, can you also share some of your memories about, growing up on a farm and some of the basic principles that you say that, that you learned from farm life?
Yes, if you can hear me, I'm kind of hoarse, but
Yeah, you sound good.
I learned a lot from after the food is after my dad and brothers harvest their food, they bring it to the house, and Mama was so good at canning. She canned just about everything that was cannibal. Yeah.
Can you give us some examples?
Corn to the house, and we would shuck the corn, remove the leaves from the corn, silk the corn, and then give it to Mama. And of course, she continue so she can pressure the corn. And the same thing with peas and green and beans. There were several types of peas and several types of beans. And all we had to do was shell the peas or beans, get them ready for Mama to fill the jars and pressure them in can. And so before then, we had to prepare the jars. And that was a big job.
Was a chore, huh?
Yeah,
It
from
was
the
one of those chores.
yes. And of course, sometimes she'd have new jars, but we had a lot of jars to wash. And
Right.
canned so much from the garden. Beside the fields, she canned so much from the garden, like tomatoes and green peas, and we called them English peas. And she also loved to can the cucumbers, making pickles, different kinds of pickles, like sweet pickles and dill pickles and sour pickles and bread and butter pickles and you name it. So
Right.
a lot of, and then she had all kind of greens she had planted in the garden. And she planted collard greens and mustard greens and spinach and that was a lot of washing to do because we gathered
Right.
greens and you wash and wash and wash and wash because you have to get the dirt from yeah, so that was we had our work cut out for us, but it was a lot of fun too. So it was
Okay.
fun and work also.
Right. That's good that you could find some
We
joy
had
in your work.
watermelons and cantaloupes, and me and Verna,
Cantaloupes too.
we watched the crows so they would
Yeah.
mess up all the watermelons. You know, with the crows would, by the time the watermelons are gonna be ripe, that's when the crows start coming in. And we'd have to make noise and do all kind of things to keep the crows away, so they wouldn't mess up the watermelons, because Daddy liked to take the watermelons to town and sell them. That was money. That was a money-making deal. And sell at the cantaloupe. So it was a lot of fun. I could go on and on, but that's basically what I love helping Mama, because she was always busy doing something. If it wasn't canning, it was sewing or gardening or planting flowers, or you name it. It was always something to do. I'll leave something for the other girls to talk about.
So Grandma, I want to hear from you too. What type of experiences do you remember about, growing up on a farm?
Well, I remember most of them, what Doris was talking about, but also Vivian and I was on the 4-H club, and we had pigs that we had to feed and get them ready to take them for the exhibit. So that was a lot of fun.
And this was at the fair? Or?
No, this at home.
At home?
Yeah.
So
And we took them to the fair
Okay.
to be judged. And I forget if we got a blue ribbon or not. I don't know, we got something. What is it called?
And Vivian.
Hey,
Hey. Do you remember the 4-H?
yes, I do.
Uh-huh.
We had I had I forgot what kind of pig I had, but she was a grand champion.
All right.
She was judged a grand champion. And then Werner's pig was in third place.
Okay, so she plays too.
Yeah, she placed too.
Uh-huh. Okay. So now what were some of those details that you had to do to get your pig ready?
You had to feed them, you had to brush them.
Ooh, yeah, wash them and oil them, and yeah.
You had the oil pigs?
Yeah,
Oh.
so their coat would be pretty. You had to oil them and brush them so they would show real good.
Now, would you say this is probably around middle school for you guys, high school, elementary, or?
Yeah, about 8th grade, Vern?
Yes.
Middle school?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And Vinita, what are some of the stories you remember about growing up on a farm?
Well, my main thing, the most enjoyable thing for me was I watched my mom sew a lot. She made clothes for all 9 of us children. And I would stand over her and watch everything she would do. And when I was 6 years old, I started making doll clothes. And then when I was 10, I started making my own clothes.
Wow, at
Mama
10?
Yes, at 10. Mama would take me to the store when it was time for her to buy some flour to cook with. And then back then they did put the flour in print bags. And she would let me pick out the print that I wanted to make my clothes out of.
Wow.
That because I didn't want the other little girls to look like me, so I made my own clothes.
Are these little girls?
But anyway, that was one of the things. And when I was Mama said I was about 3. When on the farm we would get our milk from the cows that we were raising. And we'd separate the cream from the milk, and she would use the cream and pour it into a glass mason jar and give it to me, put me in the middle of the bed and let me shake it until it turned to butter.
So how would you make it?
Yeah, I really think like that.
How would you shake it? You would just
What? Just shake it with my hands.
Oh,
Shake the
okay.
jar. Yeah, shake the jar with my hands until it would
Mhm.
turn to butter. And, we would have the butter for our bread and whatever. But
So when you said that you didn't want the other little girls to look like you, was this like the other girls in school? So that's why you wanted a different pattern?
right. I made my own patterns, by the way.
Mm.
Yes, I made my own patterns. And then I would cut the fabric from the cotton of the flour sack and make my clothes. And it was a pedal machine. It wasn't an electric machine, but I watched Mama sew that I knew what to do. So it was, and then that materialized into me having my own shop and designing and sewing and altering and all that kind of thing. As far as doing that for people, I had my shop down in Capitol Hill for, like you said, decades.
Mhm. Right. So Grandma, you also remembered, you said patterns were being made out of what?
Out of the sacks from the flour.
And then you said like newspaper?
And
Or-
you can cut your pattern out of newspaper. That's what I used to do.
Oh,
Newspaper
wow.
or brown paper bag, either one. Yeah.
Mhm. So you guys were very resourceful,
Yes, we were.
repurposing, resourceful. And so again, in today's modern world, they consider that being a conservationalist or environmentalist, right? Recycle, recycle, reuse, repurpose. So how creative it is to hear that you,
We were all taught to survive.
amen.
Whatever way we had to do it, that's what we were taught. And none of us were ever on welfare. We were
Mhm.
never in jail, never did drugs. We didn't have time. We were always working.
Now farm life, huh? That is a good point to make. So, Uncle Carl, I want to ask too. We hear about this farm, but just to kind of give our viewers and ourselves an idea of how big was this farm? Would you say how many acres did you guys own and work on?
It was a quarter of a mile section, which was 160 acres.
Wow.
Yeah, 160 acres that we farmed. And most of it was in farmland, but then there's quite a few of it was pasture for the animals. And that part was quite a ways from the house. But anyway, we had one dog. His name was a Watch. He would go down to the gate where the animals would come up to be let in to come up to the barnyard. And he would round them all up and hold them until someone come and open the gate. And
you said that was your dog? You said the dog's name was Watch?
Yeah, Watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a black and white shepherd. And he was
a watchdog.
He's a watchdog also. So dogs do work. I mean, it's best to have a dog that can work.
How many animals? Uncle Carl, can you kind of give us an idea of like how many animals you guys had that Watch kind of helped watch, right? And Watch help to like hurdle.
Most around 16 to 20 head of cattle, and about 4 horses. And he would keep them all
you guys got horses too?
Yes.
Yes.
He would,
What say, Grandma? You used to ride them?
oh yes. Use most of the horses to farm with. We had one beautiful horse, black and with a white face, and Daddy had, when he brought him to us, well, we used him to do the crops. And when lunchtime come at 12 o'clock, we get to the end of the road, and he would stop. And he wouldn't go out. You would have to unhook him and take him born and feed him and get him the water and then take him back. And the same thing come at 5 o'clock. He stopped, he was quit. He couldn't get him to go no more. So
Carl, I'm not listening. So Grandma's putting me in on this. So I want to make sure our viewers kind of understand what you're sharing. So Grandma's filling me in on this story. It sounds like you guys all know that the horses literally was trained that no matter what they were doing at 12 o'clock, they would literally just stop working. 5 o'clock, they would just, so if they were plowing, the horses would literally just stop and say, this is my lunch break. Now y'all got to feed me.
This is it right now. Give me some food.
yeah.
So you guys had horses, you guys had cattle, you had hogs. Did you guys have any chickens?
Chickens, yeah. Me and Chip used to have, that was our job, to gather the eggs.
Chickens, turkeys, geese, guineas.
Guineas, yeah.
Guineas is the grayish like animal. Or it's a bird, you might say. He couldn't fly too far, but he could fly from the ground up into a tree, and as far as he could go. But he wasn't the type that could just fly on. So we stayed around the house.
And so Grandpa Roosevelt, was he a sharecropper, or how would he like? So you guys had your garden. You also literally grew things for others to sell. Can you share a little bit about that, Uncle Carl?
Yes, we would. The crops and things that we produce, we shared it with the owner of the land. And so that's what they call a sharecropper. And
we did all the work, and he got part of the.
He got part of the produce.
The proceeds.
So the proceeds. So now there was something that was really interesting that you go ahead.
Oh.
He said living on the place free.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Linda?
Mama said that you also could live on the place free.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was part of the agreement. Yeah. Getting paid on rent or anything.
Part of the.
So Uncle Carl, I think through some stories I heard something about sometimes there was land that was on your farm that you had that you were not allowed to do anything with it. Was that true?
That was different location. What we would do is you could make an agreement with the landowner, and all you had to do is to keep it clean. And that was, and then you would get paid a certain amount not to plant anything on the land.
And you said you was getting paid, and so that was some things that all these different farms would do, and it was getting paid to the government, right?
Right, the government, there was something to well, I guess you said, keep control of the people overproducing stuff.
And that was that called, like today we call that the Agricultural Adjustment Act?
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's part of the government here. And wheat and corn was some of the major products that the United States, you might say, traded was part of the agreement, yeah, that we would ship to different countries.
You said wheat and corn?
Yeah.
Right.
And we was in the program, so yes, like I said, we know what they was doing.
Right. So that's interesting. Like they were literally, and I remember reading about that in history, but hearing that my family was actually part of this history where farmers are paid not to grow things on certain lands.
Right.
So yeah, I remember in history class. Linda, you remember that too? It's like you're shaking your head. Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. So now how far from like where you guys lived on this, on your farmland, 160 acres, I mean, it's hard for me to equate how many miles it would be to your next neighbor. Does anybody remember that?
Well, it was only about no more than three, maybe four farmers in a square mile. So that, it's 160 acres is just a quarter of a mile.
Okay.
Yep. And then you have, three other farms in that section.
Mhm.
And like I say, part of it was in land for producing. The other part was for, a pasture, we call it, for the animals to feed in, and also it was, it was there to be used for on the farm. But in the later days, we also Dad had three tractors, and that's one of them that I used to use to just break up the ground for that. Well, one of the places was 40 acres that I would, after I come home from work for a neighbor, then I would get eat down and go get on a tractor and stay on it until about 2 o'clock next morning. And I did that till it was all clear. Broke up. And that was, I was helping Dad, at that time. So, and that was how I got my scholarship. My finance for going to college. I had all of my money when I went to college. I didn't have,
You had all what, Uncle Carl?
so I had all of my money I needed to go to college with when I went to college. So, and then, like I say, I was drafted into the Navy after I was on my fourth quarter when I got a letter from Uncle Sam, and he said, "Well, are you still doing your missionary?" I said, "Yeah." What did you say? You a little bit over age. I was 20 years old then. So since you in your last your fourth quarter, we'll let you have his choice of service, and then you got we had to go in. So I was drafted that day. So,
yeah, wow. And you study agriculture, right? Yeah, was your major?
Yeah, right.
And Aunt Doris, can you share some more stories you remember about growing up on the farm?
Oh, my goodness. I'm almost blank right now. Listen to Carl, more than I do.
Well, one thing, we raised a lot of peanuts.
A lot of peanuts.
And when we would harvest the peanuts and stack them in the barn. And,
oh, wow.
And in the fall, when we come home from school, we would go up in that loft or the barn and pick peanuts off and sack them in 100-pound bags. And that was some of the produce that we would sell, for living with,
For money.
For money. So, like I say, it's some other. Well, sometimes we had some corn and stuff we had to chuck, after the harvest. So that kept us busy after the crops had, produce whatever they was going to do, and then we had to get used what we were going to sell for cost of living, which wasn't real big, but I mean, the only thing that we would have to buy would be the staples, like flour, sugar, and salt and stuff like that. But the rest of the stuff we raised on the farm.
So when you would sell those peanuts, would you go into town somewhere would you sell them or? Yeah,
we take them to Kingfisher, which was the next town, 9 miles from Dover. So, and like I say, with the selling of animals, but it's the same thing. They have places you could take your animals that you want to sell. So you feed them to fatten them up to this, like to sell to, the market. So it was, you might say it was a learning thing, and also it kept you out of trouble. That's one thing.
So Grandma, what else do you remember? So what are some of your memories about growing up on a farm?
I mean, oh,
Sit on the verge.
Like that.
oh,
And
What did he say?
you said helping Grandma can? Yeah.
And that's about it. We used to play games after the sun went down sometimes, and I think one of the games was red light, and I think the kids play that now, don't they?
I
Yeah.
know our generation did. So we got it from you guys.
Yeah.
So
we also had a turkey. We call him Tom Turkey. He was a
Tom
watch
Turkey?
turkey. Anybody started coming to the house, he would drop his wings and started
Yeah,
doing the
that's
goo-goo.
right.
He was ready to fight Grandma. It was a feisty turkey.
Yes, he was. He wouldn't let anybody come on so far.
He's like a rooster.
I don't know who Lena is. Do you know? Okay. So one of the things I'm hearing a lot about, just a very natural, organic way of you guys growing up. So, but you mentioned canning, and so that would probably would it be prepared for winter?
Oh, yes.
All year.
All year.
Yeah, all
But
year.
yeah, but I did hear some storylines about you guys did some things in preparing for winter, right? And that was a lot of canning and
Yeah, in the fall, that's when we
Mhm.
get all that kind of stuff, and fixing up the meat and stuff like that. But,
Also, they had
Is it louder? Is it?
well, the women would take their food that they're going to can to the bookie washing. They had a building there that where they could go in, take everything to this building, and they could use some of the stuff that they had to use to put up food for the women. That was done in the ag building. There was different things that was during harvest time. And well, another thing that we did, we used to go, you might say, plum jelly with the plums.
One place we stayed.
Kind of fruit.
What'd you say?
Sonja, if I can speak. I just wanted to say one of the happiest times that I remember on the farm was everybody would get ice cream and cake for their birthday. And Mama would do the custard and Daddy would bring ice home from town, and they would prepare it. And my job was to sit on the freezer while it was being turned so it wouldn't turn over. But everybody always had ice cream and cake.
It is.
So what did Grandma say? What did you say, Grandma? Say it.
I said I had the freezer thing out in the garage right there.
You have it.
Bring it in.
You actually have our freezer still?
I do.
Oh, good for you. Good. Do you use it?
No, I don't use it anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Well, it's made out of wood, so
I know.
you have to smoke it and to swell up the wood before you're able to use it,
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
if she does use it, Auntie, you gonna sit on it again?
I'll sit on it. I sure will.
It was a 6-quart freezer.
So we have one of our viewers would like to ask a question, and the question is, what were some of the favorite dishes that was back on the farm? Or what was some of the favorite dishes that you remember eating that you actually grew on the farm?
Everything.
Chicken and dumplings? I'm hearing
Everything.
I'm hearing
Everything Mama
everything.
touched, it was good.
That's right.
Everything was good. And
Everything
Vivian,
was
do you have a
good.
favorite?
Meat,
Oh, yeah. Chicken and
Came
dumplings.
from
Yeah.
meat.
Oh, you are a meat eater.
That's her special.
And Vivian is a meat eater.
And also smokehouse
And
bacon.
Doris, what did you say, Aunt Doris?
Yeah, for holidays, I used to love to see holidays come around because of all the aroma that comes from the kitchen.
The good stuff.
Mom starts cooking, baking different kinds of pies and different kinds of cakes and turkey and dressing or ham and potato salad, all kind of, then different kind of greens, cornbread, hot rolls and butter.
Anything you wanted.
And our drinks would be Kool-Aid. And the Kool-Aid was good in those days. It's not like that now. But
Everything was better then.
days you had real Kool-Aid. And it was a treat when we had Kool-Aid.
It was a treat.
And sometimes at night, we raised iced potatoes and sweet potatoes, but sometimes at night, Mama would bake sweet potatoes, and we'd sit around the stove and eat baked sweet potatoes. And Daddy, a lot of times, he would bring home coconuts, whole coconuts, and he'd crack them, and he loved the juice of the coconut, and he'd crack the rest of it in pieces for us kids to eat, just regular coconut. And that was good, and that was always a treat. And then sometimes we'd have, from the peanuts we would raise, sometimes we'd have roasted peanuts at night. It'd be like Spanish peanuts and then the other type peanuts. So it was really a fun time. Roasted marshmallows sometimes, and Mama always made, not every day, but often, she kept yeast around to make homemade bread. And sometimes we'd have hot rolls for breakfast.
For breakfast, she'd make
She would take care of that hot roll for breakfast. And often through the week or on the weekend, she'd make loaves and rolls and all kind of bread. So that was always good. And then sometimes we'd come home from school and Mama'd have a big pot of chicken and dumplings. And oh my goodness. And a big
That's what Grandma just said, that she liked the chicken and dumplings.
I beg your pardon?
That's what Grandma just mentioned too, that she really she remembered the chicken and dumplings.
Yes. And on the holidays, we always had turkey. Not always. Sometimes we had turkey and dressing or chicken and dressing. And yeah, so, and kind of cobblers. Mama was good at cobblers. She would make mulberry cobblers, apple cobblers, peach cobblers, plum cobblers. It's a cobbler, sometimes sweet potato. So she.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yes, it does.
You know, all of that
Yeah.
type of cooking
And
was done on a wood stove,
potato pie.
You said that was on a wood stove, Uncle Carl?
a wooden stove.
Okay. So we have another question, and the question is, how was the Kool-Aid different than it is today?
It was more, it seemed to be more pure or something. It tasted better.
It wasn't artificial.
Down
It wasn't
now,
artificial?
No, it wasn't artificial. It was real.
It
So
was
how, how do you, how, what was it made out of?
Out of
The
the fruit.
they had then were
Dried
real
fruit.
sodas. They were strong and real sodas. These sodas now are watered down. They're nothing like they used to be.
Right. Okay.
Sonia,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Vinita.
Yes,
We
Auntie.
used to make our homemade sausage.
Yes,
Wow.
Yes, we did.
Mhm.
And
Tell us how
so
you
much
guys did
so
that.
it was made from scratch, you know?
in the links.
Right. Uh-huh. It would be the
They had
link.
a machine that you would pump that meat down into the casing.
Uh-huh.
You
And
twist
tie it
it
off.
around,
Oh, my goodness.
you twist it around, and there's your link.
Now,
Y'all could have left that out.
don't say nothing else. Is our time up, Verna?
Right.
That wasn't a favorite memory of grandma like that.
No.
Okay, so now let me ask you guys this. So where would you guys keep all these meats? Was there like a storehouse for
In
it
the
or?
cellar. In the
And
cellar.
Mama and the sausage.
Mm-hmm.
Mama would
Smokehouse.
And Doris is still talking about the sausage when she know grandma, you don't want to talk about sausage no more.
You don't want to, but you're gonna hear it.
Linda, we had a dugout where
Yeah.
people used to have to go down in if a storm was coming.
Mhm.
And that's what we used to store our food that Mama had canned and put away. Yeah, Daddy, I guess, and the boys had put up shelves, and we just made a storage house out of it.
Mhm.
But it was down in the ground where it stayed cool all the time, and their
We
food.
call them cellars.
You have to see it.
So did you guys ever have to use it under like a bad storm? Would you guys ever
No,
physically
not
go?
for safety, no. No, we
Mhm.
didn't.
We didn't have storms like they have nowadays.
We sure
Okay.
didn't.
Really changed.
So how did you guys get from home to your house to downtown to sell the peanuts or the watermelon and cantaloupe and how did you guys actually?
Well, depending on what town they go to, Daddy would go to.
Mhm.
Sometime in the wagon. Sometime I would go in the wagon, load.
Yeah, we
So
went.
you guys had a buggy. You guys literally had a buggy, a wagon, and a buggy in the wagon.
Yeah.
When the car wouldn't work.
Graduated to the truck and the car.
What you say?
I said, we graduated from the wagon to the truck and the car.
Oh, okay. Well, it started off in a
Yeah, we moved
horse
on up.
buggy. So the horses transportation, long as you either got before noon or
Yes.
or you get them back before 5 o'clock, so you wouldn't stop.
No,
Oh, Lord have mercy.
sometimes we would we have
What did you
come
say,
from,
Ravi?
sometimes we would coming from the school programs and things where we was going to wagon and we would come back home in the wagon, but you wouldn't have to guide them. You just turn them loose, they come
They
home
walk home
by
themselves.
themselves. See, that's, so,
And Verna had to go get the cows.
Oh, so Grandma, was that one of your chores? And Doris, was that one of your chores? Did you have to go get the cow?
So they would to go get the cows. Because they wouldn't come home on time.
Bring your milk. Okay. You know, so we can milk them, huh?
Oh, I remember, I can't remember which one of my aunts told me of like, you guys definitely kept a real, organized, clean house. I mean, you guys go in all of you guys' house, you see a system, right? And my grandmother speaks really strongly. That's how you live. And I think some of that came from farming. But I also heard a story that somebody was so clean that they used to even clean the rocks outside.
Wash we would sweep the ground. Yes. So we could
That's
dance.
my dear grandmother.
Yeah, Verna.
I think it was Aunt Vivian like, your grandmother used to go out there and even sweep and clean the rocks outside.
Yeah, that's another thing that taught us a lot. And that was we had chores to do. And we all had certain things that we had to get up in the morning and do our chores. We'll go to school. We'll come home in the evening and we did our chores also. And when the daylight saving time came about, we had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do the chores before, so we could catch the bus to go to school. And that's, and then we also had to do the chores in the afternoon. So we did the chores twice a day. So, and
So you guys remember when daylight savings actually came in effect?
right, yeah, exactly, yeah. When that started, that's the reason why we had to get up so early. Like I said, 4 o'clock in the morning, so we get our chores done and eat breakfast and then go to school. So that's the main thing.
Grandma said it sounds like that was something that the boys had to do, not necessarily all the females.
Oh, no, that was feeding the hog, milking the cows, and feeding the horses, so taking care of the animals.
Mm-hmm. It was an animal chore in the morning.
Yeah.
Sonja,
Yes.
one thing that I remember my daddy telling us when he would give us a chore to do and we didn't know how to do it, he would tell us, well, you sit there until you figure it out if it's midnight. We had to figure things out. We didn't have anything to do stuff for us.
You guys didn't have a whole bunch of like YouTube videos?
Right, no, wasn't none of that. You were your own YouTube.
You had to be your own YouTube?
That's right. That's right. You had to figure it out on your own, and he would not show you how to do it.
Well, one thing.
What do you remember, Aunt Vivian?
Yeah,
Pardon?
Oh, I thought you was going to say something. I didn't know if you wanted to share something.
No, I'm listening.
Varner was Dad's pet. And when he would go to store sometime, he would always give her the candy sack.
The candy sack?
Yeah. I mean, Vinita, she was and she wouldn't give nobody in, so we would pinch a hole in it. We would pinch a hole in the sack, bottom of the sack. And then we all had candy.
Oh boy, yeah. I'll tell you.
So Grandma got the candy sack, Uncle Carl. Oh, that is too funny. That is good stuff. So you guys, all this cooking was done on a wood. You said a wood burning.
A wood cook stove.
Burning stove.
And all, well, that's all we had was wood heater. We had to get up in the night when the heat go down. In the wintertime, one of the boys, me, Glenn, Wendell, we'd get up. It would take turns by getting up in the night and choking the stove, put more wood in it, so it stayed going all night.
So I heard a couple lessons, and Vinita started kind of going down that direction for some life lessons. Go ahead. So before, I think our show, we're about to wrap up. So I would love to hear some life lessons and values, like you mentioned, Aunt Vinita, about having to figure things out, work and so there's a lot of values I'm hearing that's not necessarily framed, but I just would like this opportunity for you guys to share any life lessons and values you gained from living on a farm.
One thing that I would like to leave everybody with, because I don't know if everybody heard this, I was the last one at home with my mom. And one thing that she told me that I've never forgotten, and I've always giving it the same wisdom to my kids, my grandkids, anybody that wants to listen to it. And she always used to tell me, there is no future in the past, which means why be angry about something you can't change? It's already happened. You cannot go back and change it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that one more time, Nancy?
There is
There's
no future in the past.
Okay, good. That's a good one. And and Doris,
Now,
is there any?
There's one more. There's
Okay.
one more that I need to say to the women, especially. Well, the men too. She said, when you're thinking about marrying somebody, always marry someone who has the faults that you can live with.
That's a good one. That's a real good one. Thank you for that. That's really good. And is there a life lesson or values that you feel like you gained from living on a farm that you want to share with us today?
She don't want to talk. Can I tell a funny story about her? Since she won't talk. We were gonna ride the horse somewhere. I don't know where, but she was the main character because I didn't know how to ride a horse. So she helped me get on the horse behind her, and we were going along on the road, and I was leaning to one, I don't know which direction, but I was leaning and I was trying to get myself in. She kept saying, Nita, straighten up, Nita, straighten up. And I said, well, I'm trying to. And before I knew it, both of us were off of the horse and on the ground because I couldn't straighten up.
Did you guys get bumped off the horse?
She was so mad at me. Oh, she was mad at me. But I couldn't help it. I never did learn how to ride a horse.
I remember being Doris.
You riding the horse?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the horse was galloping like that, and she didn't like that.
That was me and Verna.
Huh?
That was me and Verna.
I know.
Remember?
Yeah.
That was you and Doris. But I'm talking about me and Vivian. We were on the horse. There was another time. Yeah.
This is another story. Verna riding a horse.
Right.
We had gone to some friend's house one evening.
Mm-hmm.
The horse was named Old Nellie.
Oh, Nellie.
You remember Nellie?
Uh-huh.
Okay. We rode there, had fun and played. And then on the way back, we got halfway back, and Miss Verna kicking the horse in the sides, making it do this, just do this. And I said, don't do that, honey. Don't, that hurts. And she just kept kicking the horse in the side. And the horse kept galloping, just galloping. So I said, well, okay, I'm gonna let you have it because I don't like this. It doesn't feel good at all. So I gave her the line that you hold the horse with. And I just started rolling off the horse. I rode under the horse, and Verna held onto my blouse and came off right behind me. And ended up getting her arm hurt. Yeah. Nellie just stepped over. She didn't step on her, she stepped over. And just kept on trotting. Went on home, and Mama Nellie coming by herself, and she really got upset. So she started meeting us. After a while, she saw me and Verna walking home. Verna was crying with her arm. I said, just hush your mouth. Because you didn't kick it hard.
Okay. what I wanted to say is that I just let everybody get a last chance to share whatever they wanted to share before we sign off. This has been definitely a treat. I'm glad that we were able to do this and collecting some details, hearing some stories about how our family grew up, you know, back in 1920s, you know, nearly 100 years ago. So this has definitely been very beneficial for me and hopefully for many others. Is there anything else that you wanted to share, Aunt Vivian, before we sign off?
No, I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you did. All the work. So I'm still in your good graces, then, right?
I don't know about that.
Dawn was like, "Mom, you stressing your auntie out about the show." I know it's love. You said you enjoy it, so I'm glad that you too, Aunt Vinita and Aunt Doris, Rhonda, Linda, Uncle Carl, and Ravi. Is there anything else, Uncle Carl, you wanna leave for me, or you wanna leave for us? Any other stories or any information?
Well, yes, one of the major things you learn by doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a trait that we all can agree to. All right, so family, this has been wonderful. I'm so glad that we were able to hear stories about Nellie and Watch and Peanut and and so many and so much more. So if no one else has any other comments, we'll go ahead and sign off, and definitely appreciate you guys joining us today.
All right. Happy birthday, Ron.
Happy birthday. Love you guys.
Love you too.
Birthday. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, we'll see you guys next week on S.U.N Sustainable Urban Network.
Okay.
Get it, Auntie.